Hi.
Alright.
How's it going?
Good?
Yeah, really
yes,
good.
very well, very well. How are you?
Good.
I noticed listening back to previous podcasts that when you ask me how I am, I never ask you how you are.
It's every day in life. Every morning's this. No, I'm only kidding.
I'm not that rude.
No,
I
you're
hope.
not. You're not at all.
How are you, Christopher? How's life?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
I have a pregnant wife.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Is that the first time this has been mentioned on the podcast?
No, it hasn't. I believe it was mentioned to Louis Abbott. We
yes,
spoke
who
about
was last week's podcast.
Louis, yeah, he was. Lovely fella.
Lovely guy.
You'll have heard all about it last week, but very intriguing man. Knows a lot about music and yeah, writes lovely songs. This week's guest is exciting.
Yes.
AF.
As you can probably tell by the title of this video, we were very fortunate
Video?
enough. What?
Video?
As you can probably tell. As you can probably tell by the title of this week's podcast, thank you, Christopher, for correcting me and embarrassing me in front of our wide and extensive audience.
I know, I'm sorry.
We have the one and only Benny Greb.
We do have the one and only Benny Greb. He was very accommodating when he came to see us in clinic, and he gave us about 30 minutes.
30 minutes of his time, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, for a man of Benny Greb's calibre and stature, that's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time when he didn't have a lot of time.
Yes.
Because the podcast was recorded between soundcheck and showtime. He hadn't even checked into his room yet. So that's how kind he was.
Yep. So humble.
Yep. They hadn't long got out the car. Soundcheck did not take long. And he gave us some time for a chat. Oh my goodness, I haven't put my phone off. Penalty referee. I could put my phone off now. So yeah, it was lovely to chat to him. I tried, I don't know about you, but I tried hard to think about stuff that I didn't think he would get asked in the clinic.
Oh, I certainly went that way, as I'm sure you'll hear.
Because, I mean, Benny's been around for a long, long time, and questions about his gear and stuff have been answered over and over again, and I wasn't sure, I wanted to leave him space to answer questions that people might ask him on the night.
Yeah, but also maybe ask him questions he maybe not necessarily wasn't ready for, but like questions he maybe doesn't get asked all that often.
Yeah, I like the idea of drummers as composers and stuff, so I felt like that was good chat.
Good chat.
So enjoy, everybody. I hope you like it. To those that came to the show and all that, thank you for coming down.
Yes, thank you very, very much.
And we'll see you on the other side of Benny Greb.
Enjoy.
Hi Adam.
Hi, Christopher.
How are you?
I'm quite excited.
I'm very excited.
This is the most excited, no offence to anyone else who's been on the podcast, but this is one of the most exciting podcasts I think we've ever done.
It is, yeah. We are here with the very wonderful, charming and awesome Benny Greb.
Oh, thank you.
Hi Benny.
There's a saying, never tip the waiter before the food arrives, but I hope I can deliver.
Me too, now that I've said that. So, how's your tour been? You've been on tour all week?
Yes, very, very good. Yeah, that was fun.
Have you had good houses?
Yes, it was always packed, really. Good. And yeah, but today's going to be the best, of course.
Glasgow's, everybody that comes to Glasgow says that Glasgow is the best audience.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we're
really excited to have you. So I mean, we've probably got about 1 million questions to ask, but I had the pleasure to watch you sound check, so I'm going to ask you a really nerdy drummy question right off the bat.
Shoot for it.
We've had the fortune to have you in clinic 2 times before. So the last time you were here was 2012, and you have changed by the looks of it the way you play. Everything seems to be much, much more relaxed and much, much more definite. Is that something that you've spent time on? Like, I don't think you play anything now that you don't mean to play. And I don't mean that you did that before, but it's really apparent now.
Wow. Well, thank you. I think that's just a common thread about like however I want to practice and work on things. I had a phase very early on when I was like a teen and like where it was about finding new things and exciting things and totally going like places where I haven't been before. And not that I don't do that anymore, but I find myself a lot now trying to do whatever I do better, easier, with more grace, hopefully. And I don't always succeed, but that's great feedback then, and yeah,
It
cool.
just looks like there's
Or I maybe just am getting older. That might
it
also
just looks like there's loads of flow.
Hmm.
You know, everything's dead relaxed. So
Yeah.
it's really great to see. It's like because
I only do that at sound check though.
Okay.
I get
Stiff as a board. the
yeah,
rest of the way.
when the show starts, I'm like,
I'll take that tip back.
Yeah.
Does that sort of tune into the way you tune your drums and the way what cymbals you use? Because everything you play now is, I guess, is very definite. You have your own snare drum, you have your own cymbal line, all these things. So is that related to that?
I mean, that definitely helps. I've always experimented a lot with sounds, and I mean, my progress of practicing or living is to see, okay, this is nice, what can be better? And that also goes, of course, into technique, and a lot of technique stuff is like, how can this be easier, and how can I, because a lot of times we think, how can I do more? There's a lot of talk about how do you build your muscles or your reflexes or, you know, stuff like that. And I found out that in reality, to get better and better technique, it's more about what, you know, more always seems to be better, but less shit is also better. You know, less stuff that you don't need, motions, tensions that you don't need, that makes it better. It's more like when you have a car that drives up a hill and it doesn't go any faster, and you think, oh, I need a different car, I need different motor and stuff. Why not just open the back and see you have a lot of weight in there that you maybe can throw out, and then even your small car or whatever will drive up the hill. And that's what I try to teach as well in my drum camps, like to look for motions in terms of posture, in terms of dynamics and stuff. What can you get rid of? And then it's like a well-oiled machine usually. So there's nothing more that you need. You just need less of the stuff that you don't need. And in terms of sound, yeah, it's a constant journey, and I've been very fortunate to work with the companies Meinl, Vic Firth for the signature stick, Sonoff for the signature snare drum, and to be like, what do I want? What could I improve? What do I need here? And yeah, I'm very fortunate that they helped me to realize these ideas, and so I've come closer and closer to a sound that I always envisioned having.
Yeah. So how does that relate or translate to the music that you write? Does any of that inform how you write, or do you just write the music you want to write and you make the drums and cymbals do the rest of the work?
Well, I mean, that gets gets informed by it. So of course, a lot of the things where needs are getting created, that's of course because of the music. Where for example, I thought, I want something that's less authoritarian than the hi-hat. I want something that's more shaker-ish and more subtle, and that's how the 8-inch crasher hats, for example, came about. And now I almost don't want to. I don't want to play without it. And so these sounds are of course created by playing and thinking, it would be nice to have. It would be nice to have this and that. But songwriting wise, I never start with the drums. I always start with, and although I make a lot of bass player jokes and I love it, but I always start with a bass line, because it's a great, because you can line out very nicely the rhythm and kind of the character of what's the beat's gonna be, but as well the chords and everything. And if you then write a melody to that, it's then a matter of like, okay, I have the bass line, I have a melody, then just filling out what comes in between. And then at the end, I usually feel like a studio drummer that tries to find a groove for what I've written. And sometimes I think like, man, who wrote this? And like, I have no idea what I should play to this. Oh, it was me. Okay. So, but yeah, I never write from the drum set. I always write from like melodies, bass lines, and put that into nice form, and actually always finish the piece really before I go to the drum set and then try to add something.
So you've never even considered what kind of groove you'll play ahead of?
No.
Wow, great.
No.
I think that's the way you should do it.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of musicians who write from their instrument, but the thing is that you can usually hear it. And I never wanted my songs to be. I mean, of course, I want my drum parts to be interesting and creative as possible, but I want my songs to be as strong as possible. So I don't want to have the songs as an excuse to play something that I always wanted to play and that I wanted to show off, and sometimes that is of course a big danger. It's the same like when musicians mix their own albums. You will usually hear like whatever instrument is loudest. Okay, if the guitar is the loudest, it's a guitarist's record. Like, so I try to. I mean, the drums are nice and loud on my recordings, but but I try to keep an overview still.
So how different when you're in the studio versus live? How different is your setup to both?
Not at all.
Not at all.
No,
not different.
Not at all. No difference.
Wow.
Yeah, I really found my sound now, and I'm very happy with that. But I'm also very flexible with the snare drum, for example, from Sona that I have, that tunes very easily into very different tunings, and the cymbals are very versatile. The ride cymbal I've seen with Herbie Hancock on stage, or with Animals as leaders on stage, or with like so from metal to jazz. Like the only thing that then is sometimes frustrating when you think like, oh, it sounds better with them than it sounds with me. But yeah. But it's also great if you have great equipment, of course, that you come to a point where it's like, oh, then the blaming stops. A lot of musicians have this thing of like, I could display my brilliance and genius if I would only have great equipment, but I basically, trapped myself now into finding out that it's definitely not, it can't be the equipment anymore. It's me.
So how long would you say it took for you to find that this is my rig, if you will? How long do you reckon it took?
Well,
because there's
the
got to be a
whole
lot
time.
like
from the beginning, like everyone tries around with stuff and then finds things that they want to have differently. And I had a phase where there was more to fix, obviously. So for me, and now I'm at a place where I'm very happy already, and it's not always in my mind. I can just use the stuff, and I'm happy with it. But it's still an ongoing thing where I have ideas every once in a while, and where there is maybe another flavor that would be nice to explore. But I'm pretty happy with what I have. Very happy, actually.
Got to see you play with your trio at the UK Drum Show.
Yeah.
Those guys are amazing.
Yes.
Really, I was really struck by the guitar player.
Right, Chris Montague from Moving Parts. Yeah, great.
He's something else. Was it a happy accident to find Chris and your bass player as well, or did you go seeking these guys out, or how did that?
Tell us the story.
Yeah, how do you pick players? Is I guess what I'm getting at for the music you write.
Yeah, I mean, I worked a lot as a sideman when I started my solo album, so to speak, when I did my writing, and back then it was okay. I'm doing my sideman jobs, and I do something to keep sane. I have to have an output of my own.
Yeah.
So that I don't have to, like in other projects to be like, but I have an idea too. And I mean, sometimes it might be a good one, yeah. So the first album, Grapefruit, was really a studio album for myself, with myself, very egocentric, the a cappella stuff with drums. Then I did the brass band album, which was a little brass band kind of arrangements. And then a year later, I was like, that's a great album, and I wonder why we never played live, really. Like, I mean, we played a couple of gigs, but we never went on tour like heavily. Yeah. And then I realized, because it's my band, and if I don't book for it, then we don't play. Yeah. It's as easy as that. The telephone doesn't ring like in sideman jobs where it's like, hey, let's go on. And I was like, okay. So I then thought like. The next stuff that I will do in the future, I want to have a band that can actually play and where it can also develop live, and so I needed musicians who are great improvisers, where I like the ideas, what they do, and where they also have like an overview a little bit. So they're songwriters themselves, they're producers themselves, and that makes everything very easy. And I was hired for a British writer and keyboard player Colin Towns, and we went on tour with the band was called Blue Touch Paper. It was very like cinematic, very like film score like, because he does a lot of film music as well, and I wanted to recommend a guitar player that I knew, and he said like, no, I have this guy Chris Montague, and I'm like, because I wanted to have my guitar player from Germany, and but it was wonderful.
Yeah.
We really got along very well and had a lot of same references. Like we both love the Police so much, and we love John Scofield so much, and we just. And normally I'm very disciplined on stage at sound check, so I'm not one of those guys who will play and people are like, oh gosh, could you please, jeez, like we need some silence here. But with Montague, it was very hard because he started something that I loved, and I was like, oh, I gotta play to that, and people were like, guys, please, like, jeez. So it was obvious to be like, I gotta play with that guy, and so we started, and then we took Kid Downs into the band. We had this nice trio for a while. There was an album, studio album, and a live album. And then when Kit went on to do other things, Chris Hargreaves came in the band as the bass player, and he's brilliant as well and brings a different flavor to it. And so actually tomorrow, whenever this gets aired, it's already out probably.
It's live.
There will okay.
Surprise!
There will be a couple of new releases with that trio.
Right.
So there will be a Grebathon,
brilliant.
a Benny Greb release marathon. I've been a good boy. We've been very productive, and there will be one release per week till the end of the year. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great news. Are you going to play more, tour more with the band?
Yeah, I mean, we played in Asia a lot. We will play in Canada next year. We did a Russia tour, so we're really all over the place. There's not. The next thing is the Canada thing, but yeah, we always play in places.
I switch gears a little. You've released a few, some of the sort of best-selling educational products. DVDs and such over the last however many years, and when the language of drumming came out, I think it really changed how people looked at producing a DVD and that kind of thing. But the one that really struck me was the Art of Science of Groove, because you dissecting the Art of Science of Groove. How did you come about to even start thinking about, well, groove's teachable? You know, because everybody thinks, oh, you can't teach groove.
Right.
You either have it or you don't have it. But you're like, no, well, I think that's actually...
I'll show you.
Yeah, well, this came out of my journey of having... growing up in a little village in Bavaria and not in a pulsating music city and whatever the gene is that you have to have for funk grooves. I didn't think that I had it. And whatever there might be, not everyone is the same, of course, but what is definitely the case, and it's self-evident that there are things that you can do to improve your time feel, your like just confidence in playing a beat and staying in tempo, and of course also like to do that in different styles and stuff. And I always searched for like less of the esoteric stuff where it's like, you gotta, and like after 30 years you get it, or like no, I want to have a specific exercise for each kind of things that I can do. Like if you go to a pharmacist and say like, I have this, and he's like, okay, take this. I want to have that for hopefully all the problems really, but and over the years, over the course of like 10 to 15 years, I really like just gathered a lot of these solutions that not only worked with me, but then also with a lot of like guinea pig students, like in the drum camps and stuff, where I could get students that, like didn't have a very secure time feel or were wavering a little bit in there. And then I was able to say like, okay, change this, think of that, and focus on that. And then after 20 seconds it's different.
Wow.
And so there are these things, and I then put them together in this DVD. And I because there wasn't a DVD like this out before. Like there was a lot of stuff of like, okay, play this sticking and then just speed it up and, and then impress all your friends, and, like, but but I thought that is such an important subject, and there is so much woo-woo around. It would be nice to have these things out, and since it obviously worked, I thought that's a good thing. And then of course I went crazy with like how to visualize all the stuff, and because I just like it.
So do you teach it to other musicians, like bass players, guitarists, the whole idea?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a lot of emails of people that are using it with their guitar students, with their bass students and stuff. Because of course, when you talk about time and tempo and accuracy and click training and playing in front of and behind and all these kind of things, the DVD is mainly for drummers. Like all the exercises are on the drum set, but it of course applies to every like musician really. So there are a lot of people who took it to different instruments, and that's wonderful to see.
Yeah, for sure, big time. Who are you listening to these days? Who do you think is sort of doing new things on the drums? Do you think there's, because these are all new ideas in teaching, but who do you think is sort of moving the drums on?
Oh wow, that's a weird.
It is a weird question.
No, it's not a weird question, but it's it might be a weird answer for me because I can still watch Steve Gadd play, and it will move me on to be more inspired and more excited to try it, and but of course I love like Mark Juliana, but there are very artistic, very different kind of people around. Arik Improda is awesome. Just how he thinks about how he puts together his stuff and his work ethic, and it's just very. I have so many colleagues that are incredibly inspiring, and there's a lot to do for me to kind of. I mean, Steve Smith is always a constant inspiration for me, and my good friend Jojo Mayer.
Do you look outside of drums a lot? Because I think it's a really easy question to ask drummers, like which drummers do you like? And like we just did, but where else would you look? Do you look at other forms of music? Do you look at Latin music, or do you other things to find it?
Yeah, I mean, like there's this saying that there are only two kinds of music, good and bad music, and I really like it all. But because I work so much and I do write my own music and stuff, I find myself listening to contrast material often. So when I do a loud album and it's energetic, I will listen to a lot of piano music and Keith Jarrett or something. Or when I do a more quieter thing or jazzy, I will listen to, I don't know, Animals as Leaders or Rage Against the Machine or something. And but that's all wonderful. It's all these different colors and these different kind of soundtrack of your life kind of possibilities. Where it's like whatever fits, you can really find it in music. The only thing I rediscovered for myself is that it's very easy to get into this thing of listening to music to the side, kind of, and
passive. Yeah,
and while doing something else, you know, while driving or while washing dishes or whatever, you know. And I really have to remind myself constantly to just sit down and listen to an album. And especially people that listen to Spotify a lot, to be like, you know what, you can listen to a whole album like in order. I know this is crazy, but like like really the order that the artist intended. And that is sometimes very a wonderful journey.
Do you know the band Elbow?
Yes, of course.
They just released their new album as one track.
Oh yeah.
So you have to listen to the whole album without stopping. They did a special edition because they were getting so pissed off with people not listening to their albums. Right. Like we've put this together in order for a reason. Yeah. So, and I don't think they told anybody initially. I think they kind of made it like, oh, you can buy it like this. But when they first brought it out, people were like, what?
Yeah.
I can't skip to the single.
It's a real middle finger to the shuffle generation.
Yeah, it really is.
Great idea. No, they're wonderful. They are also always like, the sound of their albums is always wonderful. Like my sound engineer and I, we had evenings in the studio after recording something else, just listening to Elbow over the monitor speakers and being like, oh yeah.
Fellow Sonar player Alex Reeves, he plays.
Yeah,
he plays.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he plays Vintage Series as well.
No wonder.
So, all that stuff. No,
I love this kid.
Do you see that thing he did with drums in a room? This guy, and he took a Vintage Series kit and he played it exactly the same way, same mic, same tuning, same songs in like 10 different studios, just to show you how the room influences the drum sound. Yeah. It was for Sound on Sound magazine.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Do you ever take any of those considerations about where you record? Because I was all over the language of drumming. You would record things in the bathroom and you would record things in the cupboard and stuff. Is that something you still think about?
Sure. I'm mainly really married to my sound engineer, and whatever whatever he decides to do, I'll do it with him. I love his studio. I love, and we can change the room very much and use very different and create very different sounds. But yeah, like different rooms, of course, make a big difference.
Yeah, it's pretty rad to see. Have you got any more to ask? Because I know these guys are short for time today. So.
I just like asking random stuff. Like, what's your favorite movie?
Ghostbusters.
Oh, I did not see that one coming.
Last night was Halloween as well.
But that's a constant for me. I'm the biggest Ghostbusters fan ever. I have the full suit.
Do you like Ghostbusters too?
Well, I'm that big of a fan that I even enjoy Ghostbusters too. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's not as bad as the one that you know.
The newer one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
But there will be a new one in 2020.
Another one.
Yes. But I have high hopes. I think one guy of Stranger Things is involved in that.
Paul Rudd's in it as well.
Yeah.
Oh well, that can't be bad. But
and Reitman is involved as well again.
Oh
so
really?
It's just a shame that they didn't get their act together when Harold Ramis was still alive. But still, I mean, I love this movie so much. I have a full-on proton pack on my wall.
Dude, that's awesome.
Like with lights and sounds and everything.
For anyone who doesn't know, last night was Halloween when we were recording this, and Benny Greb did his Leeds clinic with us, and I was almost like a little bit thinking, is he going to dress up? Is anyone else going to dress up? I was like, what I really want to see is someone dressed up as Benny Greb with a photo of Benny Greb. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Sadly not. But
no, I think in Leeds they thought what is the most scary thing we can do to drummers? A Benny Greb clinic. so they did that on Halloween. So.
Did you understand them?
Yeah, I did my best.
It's quite thick, the accent down there.
It's a mouthful for a Scottish guy to say.
I was going to say that's rich.
Touche.
Oh, you're okay, right? All right, right.
So have you got anything you want to plug? Any websites or anything?
Well, yeah, the best place to go is always my website, bennygreb.com, or my Instagram. You can follow me on Insta. and I'm very active on Instagram, and whenever anything new comes out, you will always see it there. One thing that people usually don't understand, I get a lot this like, oh yeah, you did these great DVDs, but I don't have a DVD player anymore. and I get it, but I have to remind you that it is available, the Art and Science of Groove as a digital download, and it's also available on a little USB stick in a wooden box. It's very nice.
It's like Sonar give you when you buy an SQ2.
Yeah, and you can just have that. And another thing I want to mention, because I always get asked about it all the time, is like, how any tips on tuning? You should show how you tune your floor tom. There is a half an hour tuning lesson on the Art and Science of Groove, so just get that. It's great. I can recommend it. I'm usually not that well in marketing and stuff, but I watched it recently and it's really great. It's really good. Yeah, I can really recommend it.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Beautiful.
Right.
Sweet.
Well, excuse me. Awesome. We will let you go because I know you've got to go and get checked into a hotel and eat and do all those things. So thank you so much for your time.
Yes, it's been nice.
It's been great. We're really looking forward to tonight. I'm sure you'll get loads of drummy questions, and if you tell them to bolt, then you like to say. So have a good time, and we'll see you in a bit.
Great.
Thanks, Benny.
Thanks,
guys.
So, Benny Greb.
Granny Babe.
Wow. So they all heard the podcast, so let's talk about the clinic.
Yeah.
Because there might not have been... People who listen to the podcast might not have been at the clinic.
Yeah.
That was the third clinic that we had?
It's the third clinic
Benny.
that we have done of Benny.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever seen him do a
Right,
clinic.
okay,
Yes.
wow. So you never made it to the other two?
I never know. I was
Right.
either gigging or seeing a man about a dog or
and such.
And such.
Well, it was the final night of his tour. And
That always seems to work out for us. We always seem to be, more often than not, the last leg of someone's tour.
It's Glasgow, mate.
I know.
You
End
know,
on a high.
Totally. And he brought the thunder. He was sensational, eh?
Yeah.
I spoke about it a little bit on the podcast actually, but a huge thing for me, because I've seen him, that's the third time I've seen him, is how much more composed he was when he was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
in what way?
just way more relaxed, especially at sound check.
You got to sound check his drums.
I did get to sound check his drums, which was kind of bonkers. I think everybody there was a member of staff from every shop every night did it.
Mm-hmm.
So Jake did it in Leeds. Excuse me. So Benny did the sound. He sound checked his own kit. So there was an in-house engineer with a wonderful PA system, great digital desk that was linked to an iPad, and Benny just asked if he could rock the iPad and went away and did it. So he had me sound check his kit in a very specific order. So it went side snare, main snare, 10, 16, bass drum, and I just had to cycle that round. Just keep playing that.
Were you nervous?
No. But obviously I didn't want to touch anything and move it and that kind of thing.
Because I guess that would be quite difficult. Like, I know if I'm setting up my own drums, even if it is my own drums, like, I instinctively, if something's not sitting great, I just, without even thinking about it, go to move the kit. So it must have been quite difficult not to do that.
Well, I would be, I would occasionally catch a rim shot.
Yeah.
On the 10-inch tom, because his 10-inch tom is really flat, but he's 6'4" or something.
Is he 6
well,
foot
he's 6 foot tall. You know, he's a tall lad.
He's a tall man.
So when he plays it, he's not catching a rim shot, but because I'm not the same height as him, so I had to kind of just make sure I wasn't doing things like that.
Yeah.
And then he put on a track, and I had to play along to the track.
Was it Greb?
Yeah, it was. So, yeah, it was pretty rad, man.
It's pretty awesome. Did you get a different perspective? Because you have a Sonar Vintage, don't you? Mm-hmm. So did you, like, even though it's essentially the same setup in a way, with
different sizes, but yeah, same size of bass drum.
Yeah.
We both play 20-inch bass drums. He plays a 10 and a 16. I play a 12 and a 14.
Did it feel like a different kit though?
Yes,
right.
It did.
Okay.
Very, very interesting to sit in Benny Greb's shoes.
Yeah.
And just things like, if you stood from behind the drums, you'll notice they formed a perfect arc from the side snare to the far crash. The drums were almost in a perfect semicircle.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think that's by accident.
Yeah.
But I don't know how deliberate it is either. It's just where everything ergonomically he reaches for everything. It formed this kind of perfect arc.
We've spoke about this a lot, about setting up the drums ergonomically. Ergonomically? Mm-hmm. That's a really hard word to say when you've not had a lot of sleep. Supposedly. And it's quite cool to see how he sets up his ergonomically for him.
Because he's so tall, the snare drum, and because he sits fairly high for a guy who's so tall, the snare drum's angled away from him. So the main snare angles down the way so that when he hits it, it's perpendicular. The stick lands perpendicular to the head. Yeah. So that it gets perfect rebound and all that. Yeah. Which, if anybody sits high, it's worth investigating that, Mm-hmm. So, and you'll notice that the 10 is pretty flat. Yeah. So again, for the same reason, when he hits it, the stick will land perpendicular. And he will get as much rebound as he can. Mm-hmm. What surprised me the most is how low the 16 is tuned.
Oh man, sounds like a bass drum, doesn't it?
It does when it's through a microphone. When it's not through a microphone, it sounds not like that at all. It's very flat. Yeah. And it resonates and sort of farts almost, because the head is so loose. It's pretty much finger tight. Yeah. So.
We had a couple of customers come up and speak to us after the clinic, and they were pretty flabbergasted at just how little tension was under the flow tom batterhead. Yeah, it was pretty rad. Weckel does the same. Oh, does it?
Yeah, Weckel does the same, and that's probably why they sound so good. Like that flow tom, honestly, sounded like a bass drum. It was amazing.
From out front, it sounded insane. The whole kit sounded monstrous.
Even the sound guy said the same thing. He said it sounded amazing. So yeah, it was great. And the sound guy loved it because he's like, wow, the drummer that knows what he wants, knows how to get what he wants, and isn't afraid to just do his own thing. Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty nice treat to sound check his drums, man.
Yeah, I'll bet it was. Yeah,
it was very cool. But yeah, so I was quite interested in how he composes and writes music and stuff, and we got to chatting beforehand because he was asking about, do we know of like any retreats in Scotland where he can just kind of disappear and not get phone reception and that kind of thing.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because he likes to write that way without distraction.
Yeah.
So almost isolate himself.
And I suppose a guy like Benny Greb's phone must be going all the time.
I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I'd imagine so. He's a
assume
fairly
so.
busy guy, and
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So yeah, he seems really keen to do that. And I don't know if you remember or you caught him talking about the clinic that he's been writing a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think he's keen to finish it and just get some time away from everywhere to do that.
One thing I took away from Benny Greb's clinic was that he is hilarious.
He is
He's
really
so
funny, man. Yeah,
Like-
he must moonlight as a stand-up or something.
Oh,
you know.
totally, yeah.
And as somebody rightly pointed out, he's really, really funny in a second language.
Oh, yeah, of course, because English isn't his first language.
No, so it's like hard enough to converse in a second language, but to be funny in a second language.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very, just everything about it was great. You know.
Yeah.
His playing's changed for me as well.
Has it?
A wee bit. It feels like it has more power in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just.
So see, this is a question I've got for you.
Uh-huh.
I mean, granted, it was like 6 years ago. Benny was last with us, but did his kit setup? You know how you were saying it was like in a perfect, almost semicircle. Has his kit setup changed a lot in those 6 years?
Not at all, really.
No.
He's added some things like the crasher hats are new, and I think it's scratching the grey matter here, but I think the second snare drum is new.
Right.
From the last time we were here. I could probably dig through the Facebook archives and find a photograph that proves me wrong, but I can't remember him having 2 snares. But that doesn't mean he said it.
So the vintage series kit, when did that come out?
2015.
So he didn't have that on the
No,
last time he was here?
He played an SQ2 in Beach.
Right, okay.
So he played a really similar kit before the vintage series came out. He played exactly the same sizes. So all that really changed is the bearing edges and maybe the shell thickness. Because I can't remember what shell thickness he played on his SQ2. But I think it was a medium shell. So yeah, that changed a little bit. But yeah, everything else was pretty much the same, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, his kit already sounded like that, you know, already sounded pretty.
Did he have a signature snare at that point as well?
Yeah,
was that out
I'm
by
sure
then?
it was. I'm sure that's been out for a while. I want to say it came out like the year before, so I think we actually put him on in 2013. I can't remember.
Yeah, I checked back to find a Throwback Thursday photo
Right.
of him in 2013.
So I think his snare came out in 2012.
Right.
But I'm guessing there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he had it.
Right. Okay.
Pretty sure he had it. And I loved how he takes 2 out and to show the versatility of it, how low the second one was tuned.
Yeah.
He had a big fat snare drum on it as well.
Yeah. I suppose in that perspective, it's probably easier to have a big fat snare drum on it to get an instant low tuning as well. But was it tuned super low as well?
Yeah, man, the head was under hardly any tension.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We still have it here, actually. We actually literally have it in the shop.
Oh, yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now.
Because we need to send it back to
It's in a
Sora.
hard case, yeah.
So, yeah, it was tuned really low. So it was like he had doubled down on the big fat snare sound.
Yeah.
I think he plays ambassadors on it, on the snare drums. Certainly plays emperors on the top of the toms, which surprised me actually. I tried emperors on my kit and wasn't into it, but I maybe revisit it.
Your vintage kit?
Yeah. So same shells. Maybe just tune it up a wee bit lower. I felt like it just didn't really respond to my playing the same way an ambassador did. Ambassador just felt a wee bit more open and a wee bit more resonant.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's not as thick, but I might relook at it. You know,
does it kind of cause you to rethink things
a
little bit? Yeah.
A wee bit.
It's made me want to get my hands on a Benny Greb snare.
Oh really?
You
mad into it?
Yeah, really into it.
Yeah, it does sound amazing. You should listen. I bought his Moving Parts live album.
Oh, right,
from him because he was selling them. It sounds amazing on that. Yeah, it sounds really great. Lots of life, but quite dry. Yeah, just great.
That was one thing you said to me in between, like when Benny left to go to his hotel room, was just you were pretty blown away by how dry his snare sound was.
Yeah, totally. Because it's tuned quite tight, the head. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure he's gelled it as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. So yeah, it was really dry. Yeah. But I think that helps with the way he plays it helps his articulation and
Mm-hmm.
all the kind of ghosty stuff, and especially when he plays with his fingers,
Yeah.
it helps all that stuff as well. I'm sure
All that
'cause
kind of stuff
yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I kept thinking, like, how does his hands not hurt?
I know, right? Oh, excuse me, I'm yawning.
Oh, come on. Benny Grebb's more interesting than that.
And he did that thing where he plays the ostinato on his feet, so that he sets up the kind of Latin ostinato. Can't say that, Latin ostinato. And then plays like the single stroke roll, but going through all these rates. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, that was pretty. Like, my brain trying to follow that was like, what?
Yeah.
What's
So
going on?
I feel like he just lets go of his feet
Mm-hmm.
and just forgets they're doing whatever it is they're doing and just concentrates purely on his hands.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, if you're not really paying attention, like, it's just like, what is he doing with his
Yeah.
hands? But then you forget that he's playing pretty complex rhythms with his feet at the same time. you know?
It was just all sorts of astounding. Really articulate guy as well. Great answers for people.
Yeah, totally.
Like they were considered answers.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
They're quite lengthy answers as well. It's not as if he just kind of poo-pooed them with
Yeah,
like a
totally.
2-word answer, or like he actually took the time to explain things
Yeah,
as well,
he
which I
did,
think
aye.
a lot of people got a lot out of as well.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope
seemed to.
they did.
I mean, I can only tell that because of the queue that was waiting for him after it.
Yeah.
There was so many people waiting just to say thank you.
Yeah.
Because I was taking photos with everyone who wanted a photo with him, and just the first thing they would always say to him is just thank you.
Yeah.
One guy in particular said to him, like, thank you for inspiring me to get back on the drums again.
Oh,
and
really?
I thought that was amazing. Like,
Wow.
it's like, wow, like, someone's just came to this clinic, obviously felt really disheartened with their own playing or their own situation, and Benny Greb just in the space of an hour and a half turned that around. I think that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. That's what you want from clinics.
Yeah,
Like,
because we often get people in the shop saying, like, man, after I see such and such play, I'm like, oh, I just want to go home and burn my drums. But it's intended to be the complete polar opposite of that. It should inspire you to play.
I would
inspire you to
hope
practice.
so. I've never come away from a clinic feeling like I don't want to play.
Yeah, totally.
I guess it's like watching a great sports person, like Messi or something, playing football. I don't think people want to stop playing football because they watch someone that great.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so yeah, it's awesome to hear. I didn't realise that he had got someone right back into it, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty class.
There was a couple of people who said words that echoed that.
Oh, really?
But it was pretty cool, and there was obviously a lot of young kids there to see him as well. Who's just like, he's down with the kids, man.
Yeah,
He's down
man.
with the kids.
Yeah, he's easily one of the best selling clinicians
Yeah,
that I think we've ever put on.
totally.
Um,
He rounds out the clinics for 2019, doesn't he?
does round out the clinics for 2019, yeah, unless Vinny comes over tomorrow or something.
I mean, that would be awesome.
But yeah, he does, yeah. And what a way to do it.
Yeah, we've had some pretty amazing artists come through Drummers Only in 2019. Obviously at the start of the year we had Steve Smith, which was pretty amazing. You kind of looked at me there as if you'd forgotten all about that.
That's like, man, yeah, we did have Steve Smith. Was that February?
That was February, yeah. It was the tail end of February. We had Steve Smith in Glasgow.
Yeah, that was
right before we opened Leeds.
That was a real treat. That was a real treat for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, like
there was a lot of people. That was a bucket list for a lot of people that hadn't seen him. We'd certainly never put him on before. So, yeah, he's a monster.
He's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And then after that, we had Mike Johnson.
Yep.
In Glasgow.
Uh-huh.
Again, probably just as Leeds was opening.
That was May.
No, Mike was March.
Was it March?
Mike was March.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then after that, we had Matt Halpern and Federico Polovic in both Leeds and Glasgow.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Then at the Leeds opening day, we had Craig Reynolds and we had Eddie Thrower.
Yep.
Man, who did we have after that?
We had Craig Reynolds here.
We did have Craig Reynolds here, but we had someone before. Did we have someone before Craig Reynolds? We had Simon Eggus doing the EAD sessions.
Wow, okay, yep.
At the tail end of June. Then after that, I think it might have been Craig Reynolds, possibly. We had Simon Eggus here in Glasgow and Leeds as well, I should say.
Yep.
And then we had with Craig Reynolds, we had Matt Garska in Glasgow. We then had Luke Holland in Leeds, and then tailed out with Benny
for both branches.
Yeah. So it's been quite a year.
Yeah, it's been quite the clinic year actually. I didn't realise we had so many amazing people through the door this year.
Yeah.
I end up so focused on other things that I forget for things like that, you know.
It's quite interesting to kind of like, it wasn't until a customer came in a couple of days ago and put things in perspective, was like, because as everybody probably knows by now, and by the time this comes out, the Glasgow shop will have moved to its new location. It wasn't until they said that to me where I was like, man, we've actually done quite a lot this year.
Yeah.
It's just like opening a whole new shop, having like moving our current shop, loads of artists and loads of good times in between.
Yeah, man.
Quite a year.
It has been quite a year. I didn't expect this one to be as reflective today.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
There's a lot.
Sprung it on you.
I know there's a lot has happened. I'm really excited for moving, or for being in the new shop.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. It'll be interesting to see who our first clinician is.
Yeah, well, the first one we do in there.
Yeah,
certainly.
totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. But you know, it's way too early to even think about that for next year because no one's even broached the subject yet. A lot of people ask us how we get clinicians in. So maybe worth talking that through. Like, usually what happens is a brand will come to us and say that they are putting X artist on. Would we like them? And we usually always say yes, we would. Or a promoter may put on X artist and ask us if we want them, or that kind of thing. Very rarely do we get artists who do it themselves, but it has happened before. I know guys like Aaron Spears tend to try and fill their nights off when they're on tour with clinics, that kind of thing. But in the main, it's usually a brand. So, you know, we did a lot of Mino clinics this year.
Yeah, it was pretty Mino heavy.
You know, we had Matt
and Federico.
Matt, Halpern, Federico.
That
was at the Dario clinic.
That was the Dario.
I meant to say Mike is what I meant to say. We had Mike Johnston, we had Craig Reynolds, we had Luke Holland, we had Matt Garska. It's a pretty... I mean, Benny was playing Mino, but he wasn't there with Minos. But even still, it was a pretty Mino heavy year. So they were going hard and heavy on clinic artists. So that was pretty rad. So they would say, you know, we're planning on doing these guys on these days. Do you want them? And we'd tend to go, yes, please.
Yes, please.
Say yes, figure it out later.
Yeah, totally.
Is pretty much how it tends to go. And then we'll look at whether or not it's an external or internal clinic. You know, Benny was never going to be an internal shop clinic. He's just too big.
Yeah.
But Mike Johnson prefers it to be intimate, so it can easily be handled in the branch. So yeah, that's pretty much how that goes for those who would like to know how that goes.
Those who are curious,
Yeah, man.
So here's to whoever we get in the shop next year.
Who would you like?
I think for me, number one with a bullet would be Todd Zuckerman.
Oh, okay.
I would love to see Todd. I know he did a clinic with us way back when, but I think 2020 Todd Zuckerman would be pretty awesome. Right. Who would you like to see?
Well, I've seen a catalogue of amazing artists because I'm fairly fortunate. I'd love to see Jimmy Chamberlain.
Oh, yeah. Does he do clinics very often?
No, he went through a spate of doing it. I have seen him before at an event that used to be called Drumfest that PMT used to put on. I saw him in 2005. And he did do a run of them for a couple of years. But I think he's just focused on playing music again. Because at the time, I don't think the Pumpkins were playing or anything. So, yeah, I would love to see him. I try and think who I've not seen. I was going to say I've never seen Greg Bissonette, but that's not true. I have seen Greg Bissonette, but that would be cool. Again, who else?
How about I'm going to throw some social media action at you. Boom, 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 boom. It's my social media theme song. Why don't people who listen to this either leave a comment or drop us a message of who they would like to see in Drummers Only?
Yeah,
who's either already been here but not been here in a while, or who would like to see again, who's been here recently, or who's never been here and they would always like to go and see.
I mean, I'd love to see Vinny.
Vinny Collier would be amazing.
I've seen Vinny play live. I saw him in Glasgow playing with Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. But I've never seen him in clinic. I have seen Gad.
I've seen Gad.
Yeah, Yamaha did a Gad tour. They called it The Mission from Gad a few years ago. I saw him at the Corn Exchange in Edinburgh. That was huge. Somebody asked him a really random question as well about playing a one-handed roll. It's
What
like
did he say?
seriously, a guy asked him to demonstrate a one-handed roll, and he just said no. Because it's like, I can't do one, man. You know, it was a bit weird.
Yeah.
Gad
fever was in the air.
But it was amazing because he played all the Gad stuff, you know, like
Yeah.
all the Asia fills, and he did all that stuff. So yeah, I've seen Gad. I don't know who else I'd like to see, man. There's that many people changing. And the minute that we stop recording, I'll think of like 10 artists.
Yeah, totally. One that kind of springs to mind would be Aaron Sterling. I would like to see
yeah,
Aaron
that would
Sterling
be pretty
live.
rad. I'd like to see Nate Wood.
Nate Wood would be pretty cool.
I think it would kind of. He's not everyone's cup of tea, I don't reckon.
Yeah. The 4 stuff he does is pretty mental.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Like in a good way, of course.
Yeah.
But
You know, so I would like to see him. I'd love to see somebody like Ringo.
do you think?
I think that
Do you
would
think
be
he'd do
great,
it?
man. Yeah.
Would be pretty awesome, actually.
You
yeah.
know what? Or Taylor Hawkins do a clinic.
Taylor Hawkins
You
would be
know,
awesome.
You know, something like that. Something, you know, I'd ask him really weird questions about playing with, like, what was it like to play with Alanis Morissette and all that. Because he came out round about, well, that was his first gig before the
That's
Foos.
right, yeah, that's right. That's how he got discovered.
Yeah.
By Grohl.
So yeah, there's loads of people I would love to see like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll wait and see what comes our way, if anything. You know, it
We'll
might
see
be a
what-
clinic light year next year, just
Maybe.
depending on what artists are doing.
Who knows?
Not I.
It's all for the 2020,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
it is all for the 2020.
Yeah.
What else has been happening?
I think that's it, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got all the big stuff is kind of tucked away now for the year.
Sweet. So, will I take us home?
Take us home, aye.
Take us home.
Country
okay.
roads.
So, firstly, make sure you guys come and visit the new Glasgow shop, which is located in Queensley Park, just off Junction 11 on the M8. We're at Unit 4, Weardale Lane. So, make sure you guys come and visit the new Glasgow shop, because if you turn up at Commerce Street, chances are we're probably not there anymore, because we've moved to a bigger and better facility in Queensley Park.
You can park your car.
You can park your car, you can get drums in and out the car, you can hang out for as long as you want, the coffee will always be on. Make sure that you drop into either Glasgow or Leeds, maybe grab yourself some Mino Vintage Series stuff, or maybe even a Sonar Vintage Series drum kit.
The new finish, the California Blue finish, if you're one of X amount, I think it's the first 50 to buy one.
First 50 to buy, that's
you
right.
get a masterclass place to Benny Greb.
With the man himself, Benny Greb. As far as we are aware, as of recording this, not all the spaces have been filled yet, so you better get on it.
Yep, a carb on it.
On like a carb on it. Make sure you follow the shop on all the socials. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube at Drummers Only UK. For all the latest goings on with clinics, sales, events, all that good stuff. Or alternatively, make sure you pick up some nice drumming goodies on drummersonly.co.uk. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, leave a nice review, leave a nice comment, let us know who you would like to see us do a clinic with at some point in the future, and hit us up with any questions you've got, shop related stuff. We're all here, we're all waiting. We're happy to answer any questions.
Cool.
And yeah, that's it.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.